Hello, welcome to the DraftCast. On this episode, the manager for Team Rowe returns. Tom and Luke discuss the results of the league. Tom answers questions sent in by other managers and listeners. We also have Tom's segment to run through. Will it be a revision to his infamous algorithm? Listen on to find out. Tom, how are you?
Hi, yes, good, thanks. Great to be back on. I mean, a lot has happened. Lots to discuss.
Yep.
Hopefully, some interesting insights I can share along the way.
I'm looking forward to seeing what you've brought this time. But let's have a quick look at the league. Well, the final league results, as they are. Obviously, Jack took the win this year, which I'm sure he's very pleased with.
He did. You have to give it to him, and he's done it with style as well, a little bit, hasn't he? I mean, it's not just this year. You know, after narrowly missing out, I think it was last year. I think it was a lot tighter on the last day. He's won it by nearly 30 points in the end. So even though it was pretty close at one point, I think it was almost Tolly was in 6 points of Jack at one point on the final game week day. Jack seems to have won the league by over nearly just under 30 points. So it's a strong end, isn't it? Strong end to the season. I can't argue. He probably deserves that trophy.
Yeah, I mean, you did well as well to come in second by a single point as well. I mean, that must hurt Tolly, but congrats on that. But you must be good.
I mean,
to some degree.
I'm pleased to see Team Rowe rallying on the final day. It's a nice little upset there. The interesting though, obviously 66 points is pretty good for a game week, but there's actually, you've got, fair play to them, you've got James and Adam also in the 69, 68s.
Yeah.
So there's a few other teams finishing strong. I think both those teams as well, actually, James and Adam, and over the last few weeks had done quite well. Maybe if there's a few more game weeks, who knows, they might have been up in the mixer a bit more.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe we don't want to talk about Rich. If we look at that number there,
it's not great.
And that probably says it all for his season, doesn't it? 17 on his final game week.
Yeah. It's a bit unfortunate.
Impressively, Adam has closed that gap, hasn't he? He's done that little jump.
Yeah. Yeah.
You might not want to talk about it, Luke, but
put me on the last
kind
week.
Of left Rich in the dust, actually, after so many weeks. Him and Rich kind of switching between the two of them in bottom place. He's actually almost taken over 90 points away from Rich now. So in space of quite a short number of game weeks, he's accumulated a lot of points. So hopefully he can take that form into next season, and we can see the blinders up in the mixer for the medal positions.
Yeah, that's what we want to see, really, isn't it? But yeah, no, it was a good final week actually overall. There is some decent scores on the board. But yeah, I mean, I feel for George. He'd got himself up to that fourth place, and Jim's just had that monster week to sort of take it from him. But overall,
Jim jumped Will and George, I think, on that final game week. Strong performance for him.
Yeah,
I think we've all recognised has just been coasting for a few weeks, particularly with the injuries he's got. It turns out after all those conversations, Jimenez did in the end never come on for another appearance.
Yeah.
Be interesting to see how early he gets picked up in next season. I'm not sure who. It's still a bit of a risk, isn't it?
Yeah, I would have thought so. Yeah.
He has been good over the last few draft seasons, so I imagine someone will pick him up. It's worth a gamble, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, I don't blame Lawrence for keeping him. There wasn't much else to pick from in the free agents. So it was a bit of a double-edged sword.
It's a tough one. It's a tough one, but there probably is a bit of a correlation between Lawrence's league position and when he's decided to hold on to players for too long. I think his loyalty has reflected in his results a little bit. I think other managers have had similar issues where we've had injuries or lots of things have shaken up the season as we've gone along with this season. But I think they've reacted a bit more and tried to keep that momentum in their team. I think Bear has been a victim of his own loyalty. But another season that could have been very different. But Lawrence was particularly in the top first position, top three for quite a long time.
Yeah.
So he was doing well. If they hadn't had those injuries at those points, it could have been a very different season. And who knows? Into next season, it might be a bit different.
That's it. Yeah, it's not long now till we do the draft for the next season, and we've got to do we'll have our presentation day as well, which I'm looking forward to. But yeah, I think overall it's been a good season. It's good to see, I mean, even between fourth and first isn't a considerable amount of points, is it really? So nice tight pack at the top.
There's lots of little battles going on there. I think a lot of people are kept interested quite late.
Yeah.
Poor Rich, but hopefully we can take this and they say makes him stronger. Next
Lesson
season.
learned, yeah.
Indeed. I was just trying to have a little look at the individual teams, any standout performances from the players. But I think I was just looking at Jack's team. He seems to have got kind of the points where you would have expected. Chilwell, Robertson, Salah, Alisson, and then everyone else is a little bit average. Sterling, Harrison assists, but kind of no shocks there with who the points came from. Ollie, unfortunately, not with the strongest finish. Kind of saved a little bit by the two Liverpool clean sheets, really. Otherwise, it would have been a bit of a disastrous week. I think one of the best pickups was, well, it has to be myself, actually. Fornals from West.
Did you pick him
West
up
Ham
that final week?
Picked him up from free agency for the final game week.
Wow.
19 points.
Yeah.
Obviously put me right back up there and obviously allowed me to take that second place silver medal. Not much else going on though with my team in terms of midfield. Jesus Bamford doing a little bit. Liverpool, Arsenal, City clean sheet, and Edison with a penalty save as well.
Yeah.
So it was big points. And the other big pickup for the game week was obviously, it hurts to say, but obviously Kevin De Bruyne for Peaky Blinders. Having such a tragic Man City pep roulette the previous game week. It's nice to have seen Adam was rewarded with the following week. I think all his 5 City players played. They all got clean sheets. Foden also, did he get a goal? Yeah, he got a goal. And De Bruyne with 13 points. Bale, 13 points. Kane, 10 points. But Adam really mopping up with the Man City and the Tottenham points there. Which is nice after having such an upset of pet roulette with 0 out of 5 players being chosen in the previous week. It really shows out how you kind of have to stick with it a little bit. You've learned that as well, didn't you? With previous seasons with Mahrez, sometimes it pays to stick with Pep.
Yeah.
Any other big ones? James, I guess, had big scores.
I mean, I had
Mane. Do you want to talk about Mane, Luke? And that
Not
trade
really.
at all?
No.
Mane getting 16 points for James on the final game week. Did Madison? Did he not play? Or did he play?
He played. Yeah, he just didn't do anything.
Yeah, I mean, it was a bit of a gamble of a trade at the time. I think you appreciate that anyway. It just definitely hasn't fallen in your favour, I don't think, has it?
No.
From the numbers recently.
It didn't help. Well, he got injured, didn't he? So it was always downhill from there. But Willock, he did well for me for the final few weeks.
Yeah, he seems to be getting a few points, wasn't he, Willock?
And
your
Rodrigo
performance,
as well.
47, is pretty strong, really. For a normal game week, that would have been quite high achieving.
Yeah.
So happens there was some big scores, wasn't there? Like some big, like almost 5-0 and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's just frustrating to leave 16 points on my bench. That's what annoys me so much because I'd be in a different position if I'd got that right.
If you'd chosen the right on the final game, if you'd chosen the right squad layout, yeah, you would have had easily have taken that from Adam.
Yeah,
I
never
don't
mind.
think he left. Did he leave many points on his bench? I'm not. No, you see the experience coming through there. Pretty much 0 points left on Adam's bench. He's got a couple of 1-pointers.
Yeah.
Obviously got the selection right for that game week. Let's hope he takes that into the next season. But yeah, still no big scores. Like I say, James did well. I think his strike force really came through for him in particular. Got Guerrero into as well as Vardy scoring. Even got Robson Canoe.
Yeah.
Free bonus as well. Yeah. No, exciting. Lots going on. I've got to take my hat off to Jack. I think that was well deserved. Really, I can't argue with that strong finish to the end of the season he's had. Really, and pleased to see him take the trophy. To be honest, it's great to see another manager with silverware. Trying to shows the depth of talent we have within the league. That there's different managers picking up trophies all over the place, and it's not the same people over and over again. So it's good. We've had three trophies this season, 3 different managers, haven't we?
Yeah. That's good to see. Definitely very good to see.
We'll see what happens next season. If any of those can do the repeat or not.
Well, now we have the 3. So someone can do the treble, isn't it?
Yeah, it's good. It adds that little excitement, isn't it? There's an ability for someone to do something that's not been done before, isn't there? Which kind of takes the bar to another level, which is exciting. But obviously, with 2 new managers next season taking the league from 10 to 12, it could be quite a different experience in itself. Just the type of players we're having to deal with. Will free agencies be used even more? I think this season's seen free agencies used by far probably the most they've ever been for the last couple of seasons. But with even more people in the league, are we going to see a lot more rotation within the squads? People are going to be very brutal. Is that loyalty going to be tested? It's be interested to see how it pans out.
Yeah, it's going to be difficult because that's 2 full teams of people taken out of free agents, and you know what it's been like this year. With so little, really to choose from. It's going to be worse next year. So, but it will make it interesting, I think.
Yeah, but I think Tolly's obviously picked up on that as well, and obviously one of my main strategies is that free agency, and we've definitely found it advantageous to have the players you're not as loyal to and to swap those out. So maybe some managers will experience that next season as well, and find not being tied to certain players through loyalty might see them benefit as well.
Yeah.
Obviously, it is going to be a slim pickings. The draft itself is always an interesting one. It's going to be even more interesting, particularly because you don't know who's really going to be starting at the beginning of the season coming. So a bit of a scramble, free-for-all in the first free agency.
Okay, I think we'll move on to questions for Rowe. So most of these are repeats of ones I've asked the other guys, and then there's a few new ones for yourself. So first up, after some time to reflect on the final league results, you must be happy with second, but what would you have done differently to secure the top spot over the final weeks?
I've put out. I think I'm very happy with second place for a manager who was pretty much bottom of the league for the whole first half of the season. It's amazing how much things can turn around, and I think that shows what's exciting about this league is that things can change and can change quickly, which makes it very exciting. Happy with second. I think with my strategy of pretty much rotating the squad, it's going to have a bit of a lifespan to it. You can probably get away with doing that for so long. I think we've seen that was achievable. I probably was doing that successfully maybe for maybe even 12, 13, 14 game weeks, but it was always going to probably catch up with me eventually. So I was probably surprised to have lasted that long at the top, mainly because when you've got that strategy of rotating your players and you're at the top, you're getting very slim pickings on the free agencies. You're the 10th pick each time.
Yeah.
Particularly with other managers in this season picking from the agency more than they were last year, I think. So that strategy works well, but once you get to the top, you kind of need to have a very strong team which doesn't rely on that strategy. And that's probably where I went a little bit wrong, and maybe what I'd reflect on next season is maybe once you're at the top, you need to be a little bit less reliant on that strategy. I mean, to finish second place, and if you actually looked at my squad, it's amazing really how that team has probably managed second, but it's obviously not recognisable to the team that was when I was at the bottom of the league. So I think that's a big thing. I think, and also I don't want to give excuses, but obviously being at the top, you get 10th draft pick, but also I think I've probably been 10th draft pick, but then also having such shake-ups this season. Made it very difficult, particularly with managers changing halfway through. Finally think we understand who's playing, who gets into the first 11. I'm at the top, 10th draft pick, and then suddenly your Tottenham manager goes, or your Chelsea manager changes, and then I'm the last person to be able to pick up those players. And my players that were playing regularly are no longer playing. You've also been impacted massively from my Chelsea players and my Man City players with Champions League, which probably wasn't the same last season. And when you're at the top, it's very hard for you to react compared to the other managers further down the league. And I think there's been a lot more external disruptions this season than last year. But everybody was impacted by that to a certain extent. I guess it's how you try and moving on to next season. How do I try and make myself less vulnerable to that maybe? But it's difficult. I think I'm very happy with the team. But if you look on paper, my team has extremely overachieved. Potentially, you would say through very good management, has managed to get the most out of his players. But Jack does have a strong squad, so I'm not surprised to see him all that top there. Yeah.
Okay. So, yeah, like you said, you did finish well with a second place and a high score. But you've mentioned that you brought in Fornals there for that last game week. Were you, I presume you were very surprised when he scores 19 points in that final week for you.
Yeah, I mean, obviously you don't expect 19 points, do you? But he's wasn't out of nowhere. I guess he's had he's had a pretty good season, really, hasn't he? It's a little bit in and out. I'm just looking at the stats. I guess it was a bit of a look at the stats when I think about it. He didn't score for a few. There's been quite a gap for the last time he scored, so probably was a bit of a jammy pickup. But West Ham, I guess, have had a fairly good season.
Yeah,
they do seem to get the goals. So yeah, very much a roll of the dice. Looking at the I think it's been 8 game weeks since he last scored. Sure. 8 game weeks since he last scored. So yeah, a bit jammy, but I think all the managers this season had those jammy moments, haven't they?
Yeah. Okay, next. What would you say has been your most enjoyable moment from the league?
I would say my most enjoyable moment is rise from bottom to top and then being at the top for 10 game weeks. I don't know if you know, Luke, but I was actually at the top for 10 game weeks in a row. And noticed. I think that whole experience I thoroughly enjoyed. Like, I never in the wildest dreams thought I was probably good. I never really thought I'd win the league, particularly with the team I had. But thoroughly enjoyed, I think, as I said, the journey, get there, and being at that top for 10 weeks. I have a lot of time to dish out the rest of the managers, and I thoroughly took my opportunity. I think with both hands and enjoyed it. So I feel like I've got a lot out of the season, to be honest. I feel a little bit for Jack, actually, because he only really kind of got top with one game week to go almost. So he hasn't had a chance to really lord it over, and we're going to probably pick the new draft in a couple of weeks. So, but he will be in the history books. So that's the difference, isn't it?
That's it.
I think I got the better experience, but the history books won't show it. But I'm a happy chappy. I think I've enjoyed it.
Fair enough. Yeah, I think this is a good answer. We could definitely tell you were enjoying it at the top. Okay, so what would you say was the most controversial moment for you from the league?
Most controversial? As into the whole season, what was the most controversial moment?
Yeah, from our league, yeah.
I don't know. There's always questionable trades and stuff like that. I don't think like the Fernandes trade is obviously quite controversial. But did it really impact things? I don't know. Would we have really? Would it have been? Even Will did have Fernandez, but still wasn't really able to put a proper title charge together. I know he did get his silverware, but I don't think it impacted things too much that long run. There's lots of random trades that Jim does, which I don't know if they've paid off. And I think Jim's team seems to have got transferred to Jack at some point a little bit, and definitely I think there's some strength in Jack's team because of that.
Yeah.
But I don't know if it's that controversial. Probably Allison trade as well for Henderson was a little bit controversial maybe. And actually, with Allison scoring and Liverpool's running, getting so many clean sheets, with Tolly having 2 Liverpool defenders, and if Jack only had 1, Tolly probably might pip Jack to this season. But because Hendo didn't really bring in any much points for the Man United's as in the final few game weeks, so that's probably has potentially swayed the final league positions a little bit, maybe. So that one probably might have had a bit more of an impact. It's easier to have more of an impact towards the end of the season, I guess, because there's not many game weeks to go, so it's easier to see what's happened. But and obviously the cups themselves, lots of people moaning about post assists, but that's how we know that's how it works. We know when someone gets a red card and the team keeps conceding, they lose more points. We know this. I don't think that's something to necessarily moan about, like some people have moaned about the controversy of it. That's just the game. Got to play it.
Yeah. Play within the rules. Yeah. Okay. Has anyone surprised you with their performance this year?
Has anyone surprised me? I guess Tolly was a surprise. If you asked me mid-season where Tolly would be, I would have said probably towards the bottom. But like to think my mentoring of my management style with Tolly has helped him overachieve, so that's good. I guess very surprised where Adam is. Shouldn't be there. Should be much higher, and I think a lot of reflection has been going on within that camp to next season.
Yeah,
I imagine he's already got his list ready for his picks. I'm sure he's very prepared. Been making extra notes this season. Anyone else surprised me? I don't know. No, Jack was always expected probably to do quite well. Surprised probably how low down Will. I think the draft of Will is probably one of the biggest surprises for such an experienced manager with such past season achievements. To be drafting as poorly as he did, to then maybe get a little bit lucky with some trades and support from other managers. I won't say anymore, but there seems that is a big surprise and a slight worry and concern going into next season. If Will repeats that, then I think he needs to take some lessons from that. That was potentially one of the biggest surprises, actually. Yeah, I would say.
Okay. Talking about next season, then, who are your ones to watch, manager-wise?
Ones to watch. I think I'm hoping Rich a little bit more in the mix towards the top half of the league. I think with the team he had, because he only let go of one of the best performing player potentially for the majority of the season in terms of points wise. For the team he had for pretty much half the season, he was still in the top half. So he's obviously got some shrewdness to him in terms of what players to pick and almost picking the under the radar players who actually get results. So I think there is something there. He was very. His team did start to lose the big players though, which was unfortunate. But I think he's got some talent there for the picking. So let's see what he does next season. I think George is probably one to watch. I think you could see he was slowly rising up to the end. I think he was very unfortunate that his team probably relied too heavily on Arsenal, and I know that was a lot of his original kind of draft picks, but kind of based on that as well, with Aubameyang and stuff, which never really came and delivered. So potentially, if it was another season and he would have had different players or not as reliant on Arsenal, it could have been a very different story for George. He obviously did quite well towards the end of the season. He kind of rised up. I think the unknown of Ben is a concern, isn't it, to all managers?
Yeah.
We've seen that he's dropping names out there that sounds like he's aware of the football leagues and the wider kind of players around the industry and what they can do. So that's always a little bit alarm bells going off to one to watch, maybe.
Okay. So you mentioned it a minute ago about Adam putting his list together for the next draft. Have you got a list, and who's going to be your first pick, do you think?
I've not thought about it too much, to be honest. I had a very clear strategy going into this draft for this season. I've not really thought about what next season's draft will strategy, I guess, would be for me. City are looking strong. Chelsea were looking strong, maybe a little bit flaky towards the end of the last few games. Liverpool had quite a strong run in for the last few games. We were pretty much terrible for the rest of the season. So I'm not sure. It's three teams there, isn't there? The Liverpool, Chelsea, kind of City achieving. Tottenham are not doing much. It sounds like there's going to be some transfers this year as well, with particularly big names, maybe with Kane and stuff. So there might be more. It might be very much 2-3 teams in particular. Everyone's going to be going after.
Yeah. But
City's done me well this year. I invested in them heavily. They let me down a little bit at the beginning, but then obviously went on an amazing run halfway through the season, and that's particularly what's allowed me to do so well. I think I probably wouldn't be as heavily dependent on them next season. Just think the league itself is going to be a little bit tighter than it was this year with City. So,
okay.
Would you like to know who my first pick might be?
Yes, please.
I would probably go with, because he is, as the rest of the league has recognised, I've always thought Kane is the best striker in the world. So I'd probably go with him.
Okay. Fair enough. Right then, final question. How will Team Rowe 4.0 differ to the current 3.0 version?
Interesting question. I don't know whether I need a number next year. I think after getting a silver medal, the team showing what they're capable of, we might be out of beta mode, and we might be able to just go full steam ahead, just Team Rowe.
Oh,
that's kind of where I'm thinking. I think we've kind of almost, getting the second place. We're pretty much at full steam now. So it's taken a few seasons through trial and error to try and understand how this all works and the best way to get the most out of my players. But I think we're ready to go. I think we're going to be dropping the numbers and adding an asterisk towards the end of next season.
Yeah. Interesting. Oh, I'm not sure if you're allowed to add an asterisk, are you? Oh, at the end of next season.
Well, that's why I said to the end of next season, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Right, that's the end of my questions. We'll move on to your segment, and I'll let you reveal to us what you've brought along.
So, no surprises, I don't think, for this segment. By popular demand, I like to think anyway. It's Rowe's statistical analysis of the manager's performance. So hopefully a graph everyone's now familiar with. The game weeks across the top there, and league position, first place at the top and then 10th at the bottom. What you can see at the moment is where we reviewed last time I was on the podcast. So we'd just done game week 28.
Yeah.
So that's where we were before. So let's reveal what's happened since. And I mean, a lot has happened since. So if I just reveal, see there's quite a lot of movement. As always, very hard to see what's kind of going on, but the data's there if people want to have a look at it. But I'll try and give a bit of a recap for each manager of the last last 10 to 14 game weeks. I like to give a bit of my thoughts. So let's jump into it. Obviously, where do we start? Obviously, the most important stat of the season, Team Rowe, 10 game weeks on the trot. Last time I was on the podcast, what was it? Game week 24 was still in second. Hadn't even risen to the top yet. Last time I was on, and we now see I've been there for 10 games. Obviously, the most important stat of the season, as most of the league recognises. You can see there a season of two halves, probably, isn't it? It's very, very black and white in terms of almost symmetrical of what the seasons of the two halves look like. But no, very pleased. Thoroughly enjoyed that time at the top, and it's been an emotional ride, fighting off many people, trying to get to that top spot for as long as I possibly could.
Yeah.
Just got the better of me with a few game weeks to go, but I enjoyed it. Let's have a look at what people like to refer to as the Revenge Tour. Probably the Revenge Tour 256, because it was cancelled and postponed so many times, not due to COVID, just due to poor performance. But you can see that Jack actually started the season quite well, but when we last came on the pod was kind of in his worst position yet. He was at the lowest point he's ever been last time I was on the pod, so he wasn't really predicted to do very well. But has had an extremely strong finish, and all credit to him, has managed to bring home the goodies.
Yeah.
And obviously yourself, Lou. So I guess, where did it all go wrong, Lou? Last time I was on the pod, I think you were top first place.
I know. That's a horrible to look at.
Where did it go wrong? We're talking like 28 game weeks. You're in medal positions. Only the last 10 game weeks, and you've dropped to 9th place. What on the sole? What would you pin the sole? If you could say one major thing, what was that? What
It'd be
would you say?
interesting to see when the Mane trade happened.
Oh, you think that might have been a bit of a game changer? I don't know how many games. I don't think that was.
I think there's a lot of other things within the team that have resulted in that. But that's
you saying, I
one
think
of the big ones.
Are dependent on Saints players as well, wasn't there? And they were doing very well for the first half of the season.
Yeah.
What would you take from that for going into next season? Do you feel like you've any big lessons? What would you do differently?
I think I've learned some lessons. Yeah. I'm probably going to. I still, there's still players in my team that I'd want for next year. But I think I'll probably be less. Well, I tried to do quite a lot of swapping and changing over the last 10 game weeks, and I think some of that did help, and a lot of it didn't. So I think I just need to be more mindful of who I'm bringing in, most likely.
Yeah, it's tricky, isn't it? There's that level of research you can do versus, it is hard. All right, let's have a look at. Well, probably the least said about this season, the better, isn't it? If you remember that Rich was Mr. Average for a long time, and then very much became Mr. Terrible by the looks of this. But he's got to have some serious lessons learnt there, I think, for next season.
Yeah.
So I'll be surprised if there's a repeat of this. I think that these lessons are probably burnt into him now. So I don't think he'll be making the same mistakes twice. Moving on. We all recognise, once Bear got his trophy and got his injuries, he very much started to coast. Pretty much for the end of the season, Bear's been on the beach, as we all know, having a nice time, sunbathing with a pina colada, waiting for next season, with the injury crisis is over. So it's not the best performance towards the end of the season, but like I say, I think he's been coasting, so maybe one to watch. He gets some good pickups. He's quite shrewd with his drafts, and let's see what he does next year. And we've got Tolly. I think last time I was on I referred to him as the roller coaster, up, down, all over the place, and then finally got the management style right. And you saw that since the last time was on, I think, game 24, and then that's really shot up. And he's done really well. But there are rumours amongst the managers that some say that he has just committed the biggest bottle job ever. Final game week to go, within, I think, just around 10 points of becoming first place, taking the trophy, 30 points nearly, I think, from the next person behind him, thinking he's going to win the trophy, to then actually coming third has got to be one of the biggest bottle jobs I think the league's ever seen. So I'm sure it's an emotional time for him, and we are here to support him if he needs us. But hopefully it can make him stronger in next season. And we've got George. So I think, like you were saying, who do I think next season might be doing well. And you can see here, George probably learning the trade of the draft very much the first half of the season, stuck in the muddy end at the bottom there, struggling to get out. But you can see there's a nice trend going up towards the second half of the season. Put here too little, too late. Obviously, he's run out of game weeks, but with that trend, he's obviously starting to understand how to manage the draft league, and he definitely could be one to watch next season.
I agree. Yeah.
Then we've got James. I mean, as we say, perfect execution of the plan. I think you could probably pinpoint, I think it's game week 27 when James stopped trading his players. And you can see there's a extremely good correlation with improved performance with James's points and league position since he stopped doing stupid trades. So maybe he'll take this learning. Unlikely, isn't it? We probably see the same again next season.
We shall see.
And then we've got Adam. I think he'll agree. It's been a bit of a dismal year for him. Nice to see the final big push at the end there. Your dispense, but obviously a nice little win at the end, which hopefully will give him that momentum into next season. I think he's been rebuilding. I put here rebuilding for next season. I think that's been going on, thinking about what he's going to be doing and how he might do it differently. I think there's a lot of reflection been going on within that camp. Again, one to watch. I'm sure he will be wanting to make sure this does not tarnish his reputation and that he bounces back quite quickly from this. And then we've got what I like to refer to as Will, the end of an era. We can see there he did manage to get to the top, but unlike his previous seasons, he hasn't got the management now, and he's just dropping off there quite quickly, unable to stay longer than one game week at the top. Quite clear the end of an era of the Morris dynasty as the new managers come through probably. So that was a bit of a recap of obviously the managers' performances. Obviously, we like to see what does it actually mean in terms of the points difference. So another graph, hopefully we're all familiar with, is the difference in points between managers. Game weeks across the bottom, points above last position on the left-hand side. So this is what we saw last time. It was quite interesting that the league was very much coming together. I think the smallest gap between all managers in game week 22, but then you can see it started to open up again, particularly from the drop-off, I think mainly with Rich and Adam dropping off the bottom, but also some strong performances from myself and Will. So since then, let's have a look. So if we reveal what's changed. So amazing, really, isn't it? Like when you look at like game weeks 22 and around that middle of the season, how close it was to actually where we've ended up on the final game week. With like game week 22, we're in 70 points of all managers, and then final game week, there's a spread between all managers of 270 nearly. So a lot of points have been achieved in that second half and really spread out the managers. I think Rich's performance probably has made this look worse, but even if you look at second to last places there, they're on 90 to 100 points. So the spread has still jumped up another 170 versus the 60 that it was at the middle of the season.
Yeah.
So there's been a lot of points gained, and you can see there some sharp rises of some managers towards the end there. Nice steady rise from Adam, which is quite nice to see for the last few game weeks. Just you can see that improvement. There's a few things I wanted to highlight on this. So you can see here, this was the moment at which 10 game weeks on the trot had to come to the end for Team Rowe. And there was a big upkick from both Tolly and Jack. Significant upkick compared to all of the managers actually that week. Kind of out of nowhere, I think they pulled out nearly 60, 70 pointer weeks versus most managers getting around the 30, 40s.
Yeah.
And I think that was the Allison goal for Jack, and also the Torres hat trick for Tolly. So you see that was a big defining moment probably of those points to really put them back in the mixer for top position. Other things to point out, I guess, is last game week pick to the post. There's quite a lot of upsets on the final day. You You can see there Tolly with probably the biggest significant bottle job, going to third position with me pipping him by 1 point. James jumping 2 people on the final day, a significant performance from him. And also yourself, Adam, pipping you just there on the last game week, a big performance from his team. So quite a lot of change on the last game week, which is quite exciting in the league. How did the predictions stand up? I hear you ask. We obviously tried to do a bit of prediction towards the end of the season. Some you'd be interested to know are not that far off. Like if you look at myself and Tolly, dotted line versus where we ended up, there's probably like within 10 points. So it's not that far off prediction. Quite good, really. A few other ones that were quite close, I think, with the predictions. Obviously, Rich there, bottom place, was exactly as predicted. But there were some upsets, so some bucking the trend, as I call it. So if we just highlight 2, which I think are most interesting, is yourself in the yellow and Jack in the blue. So when I was last on game week 28 there, I think it says my prediction was, you can see Jack wasn't doing a lot. He wasn't predicted to get that high up the league at all, and you were actually doing quite well, and your projection was actually, I think, was third place at the time.
Yeah,
and you can see there both trends are completely, as soon as I made that prediction, gone in the opposite direction, almost looking like Jack's taken all the points you should have had, Luke, by the looks of this. But it's shows obviously there's some work to do on the algorithm. There's some big point differences between those there. I think another one there, which I haven't highlighted, is probably worth shout out though, is James. You can see James was predicted to pretty much flat line into third to last place, but actually ended up in 4th. So he also did book the trend a bit there. So I'll give him a bit of a shout out. But yeah, I think that rounds up the analysis of the managers this season and how they've performed. Hopefully it's been useful throughout the podcast, touching base on this and allowing managers to see what they're doing and maybe make some tweaks when they need to shake up those results. So hopefully it's been beneficial, and I'd see us probably using it moving forwards as well into next season.
Yeah, definitely. It's a very good way of us, well, everybody seeing what they're, how they're going along in the season so far.
Yeah, I think sometimes you need that kind of checkpoint to just take a step back and say, how am I doing compared to other managers? Do I need to shake it up? Do I need to make some big changes or trades or so on? So yeah, I think it can be useful.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, really good. Yeah, it's just horrible looking at my line.
What could have been, Luke? What could have been?
I know. Oh well.
We live and learn. Next season. Yeah. We go again.
Okay, yeah. Thank you for showing that again. It's really, it is interesting to see, and to be fair, like you say, the 2 that you got, yourself and Tolly, you almost bang on with your predictions. So, and you predicted you were going to place above him as well, and you did. So, congrats on the prediction for that. I'm just trying to see if there's any others that are quite close. Will's isn't too far away, I guess. But other than that, they're all pretty. I mean, Adam was set to be, game week 37. He's bang on the prediction line. Yeah, and then also he jumps up.
He pulled it out there with those points on that final game week.
Yeah. It's interesting. It is interesting. Okay. Well, I think we'll wrap it up there. Thanks for coming on again. Great to have you back, and great segment to bring on all your pods. And yeah,
I've enjoyed it. Thanks for having me. I like going through it and just recapping, I guess, how the managers are getting on. I fully enjoy it, and look forward to coming on again in the future. Looking forward to what's going to maybe happen in the summer as well with the podcast.
Yeah.
Watch this space I hear. So yeah, exciting.
Exactly. Yeah, I need to do some planning. But we look forward to seeing this again for next season with the 2 extra managers, and yeah, it's going to be even harder to follow.
Graph's going to get even busier.
Yeah. But no, it's good.
That,
it is interesting. But yeah, again, just congratulations on the 2nd place.
Thank you.
I think I imagine some people were relieved that you didn't win, but I imagine you must be gutted as well at the same time. But any medal position is good to. I mean, I'd have taken 3rd place. I think that's what we said, wasn't it, last time when gave us the predictions? I said I would have taken that. And
going from where I was last season, not really in the mixer at all, to then taking 2nd place, it's looking positive for the next seasons to come. It gives me something to build on. Haven't reached the pinnacle yet, and there's always more to improve. So it's all in the right direction for Team Rowe, and it's an exciting future.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I think I need to look at these graphs more myself and think, although I finished 9th overall, but has my season actually been that bad? I don't think last season I was on anywhere near the top for any part of the league. So to have been at the top for 5 game weeks this season, I'm quite happy with that. So I need to, just have a bit of a review and try, like what you said, work out what went wrong. But a
few weeks before the next draft, so make sure you book in that time to reflect.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, well, thanks for coming on again. Thanks for listening, everybody. And any final words, Tom?
No, I just look forward to hearing what's going to happen next on the next pod, because our final guest to wrap up the season. There might be some exciting ideas going on for that, so watch this space is what I hear.
Definitely, yep. There'll be announcements soon for when that pod will happen and what will be special about it. So, yep, keep your eyes on all the usual channels. Remember to subscribe, like this video, it does help us out a lot. And
as always, this is the DraftCast. And remember, draft is life. See you next time.